yes, we look a little crazy, but hasn't this week been crazy? Are we loving it? Are we having a good time? Okay. Well, I don't know if you know this, but now you do. Our closing party theme tonight, I'm getting a little foggy, so I can't see anybody anymore, is beach theme. So, feel free to dress up and act as crazy as you want tonight. We will be on the dance floor. There will be a live band, I think singing Beach Boys. I can't see anybody anymore, so it's fine. I am really excited about this panel, even though it doesn't look like I'm taking it serious. But I also made a bet with one of the panelists, and he didn't think that I would follow through. And guess what? You talked to the wrong gal. So here we are. I've caught a bill. Look at Bill's amazing flippers here. But we're going to hand it over him to make a very sophisticated and professional introduction. I need to take these off because I can't see.
So I think I'm calling this group the Survivors. After 4 days of programming, thank you all for making an effort to be here on the last day. We have a great panel planned. The panel.
Sorry, if you can't laugh, you're not having a good time.
So
okay.
It's design in the details, all about creating bespoke interiors. Once again, we're going to thank our major co-sponsors, Woodmeister Master Builders and William Ravis Real Estate. Our panel sponsors today are Magellan Jets and
White Elephant Resorts. And Bill lost his towel. And White Elephant Resorts.
Great.
And
so our moderator today is Jaci Conry, editor-in-chief of Boston Magazine.
she doesn't even know what to do with herself right now.
I
She
don't.
actually is speechless. We have made Jackie speechless. Our work here is done.
Oh my gosh.
It was excellent.
It's all downhill from here.
That was all you?
How are we going to top that?
So wait,
I
just
don't
as
know.
So we were seated at dinner next to each other last night, and I was like, it's great, but like I don't feel the Nantucket vibe. Like there's no beach. There's no like everybody's so perfectly dressed and coiffed. And I was like, I dare you to come in beach clothes, like full-on beach clothes. So that's how that happened.
He thought it was a little stick in the mud.
Only for the first 3 minutes.
Well, I'm impressed by that. So I'm having a hard time coming up with something funny to top that. Let's just get into the program. So yes, as Bill said, this is design in the details, creating bespoke interiors. And our panel is Melanie Millner. She's the founding principal of Design Atelier. Darren Henault of Darren Henault Interiors, and Cindy Rinfret of Rinfret Ltd. So to be truly distinctive, a home needs bespoke details, elements that are authentic, finely crafted, and custom. And our panel today are very accustomed to creating such details, usually assisted by a team of players, artisans, and craft people. And these design moments incorporate a diverse material palette and utilize objects in unconventional ways to evoke elegance, singularity, and often elements of surprise. So what exactly do we mean by bespoke details? We're going to take a look here at some of our panelists' work, and we'll start with Cindy, and please weigh in and walk us through some of these gorgeous elements you've created. So let's see.
We start.
Here we go.
There we go. Oh. This was an amazing Tudor stone house in Greenwich, Connecticut. It was absolutely beautiful. It looked like Glen Eagles had been dropped right into Greenwich. So part of what we wanted to do, this is actually a bathroom suite. So it was there were actually 3 adjoining rooms. And what we did was we made one room, which used to be an old closet, into a dressing room and a beautiful tub, like metal tub. And then we put these beautiful curtains. So it was sort of like you walk through the curtains, it's like appear. And it was very glamorous. And this is actually Dee Hilfiger's house, her bathroom. And we continued with like the leaded windows. See on the doors where the Roman shade is, and even the cabinets of the vanity area was all metal details, like the windows in the house. So we took cues from the existing house and we incorporated it in so that the bathroom didn't feel new. You know, so many times people go into these beautiful houses and then they make these utilitarian bathrooms. And I think bathrooms should feel like a room. I love when there's a piece of furniture in the room. And I love beautiful curtains. And these curtains were from Holland & Sherry that we designed, and they were textural. They were wool sateen, and all the embroidery on them was, embroidered along the edges and then finely detailed. And it was a wow. When you walked into this room, this bathroom, like you wouldn't want to leave. And I'm a bath person. I take a bath every single night. And at 10 o'clock, this is like my happy place. So, this was one of my favorite projects that we have done. Well, this is just to talk about window treatments. So window treatments to me are really, really important because what they do is they balance a room. It gives it height, and it just gives it color and warmth and the coziness. And when we detail, what I like is jeans and a silk shirt, and I love the way, when you go into Ralph Lauren and you see like a suede jacket with a silk, with a leather pair of pants, or leather pair of pants and a cashmere sweater and a silk shirt. And it's a combination of these elements that make things interesting. So on these curtains, for instance, this was like a linen curtain, but then we had a velvet binding on the edges, and then on the corner of the edge, we turned it, and there was another lining on it. And then never forget the back of the curtains, because like a jacket, you wouldn't not line a jacket. And like cool, sexy jackets, especially like if you go to London and to a men's bespoke shop, they're all lined with foulard inside, or there's something special, and that element of surprise is so wonderful. But also drapery rods. These are the jewelry. There's a difference between furnishing a house and decorating a house. And decorating, it's like between, it's like ready to wear and haute couture. And what we do is haute couture. We take things to a different level. And what my clients say is like, you're the only rooms I never want to change. But then they end up selling the houses usually with all the furnishings, and they make a fortune. And I'm like, oh. And then luckily for me, they usually buy another house and hire me. But to me, that's like the jewelry in the house. This was an amazing kitchen. It was a La Cornue stove and black. This client wanted a Regency neoclassic kind of house. So we were trying to make a neoclassic house, but not make it stuffy and not make it we wanted it sexy. So it was such an enormous kitchen that we did this black lacquer, black lacquer hood and black lacquer stove. And it was so beautiful. It was like jewelry with all the metal working on it. And then we lacquered the walls black. And so it gave you that bistro feel, that French bistro feel a little bit, but it was very classic and timeless. And then the island was in walnut. So it was the mix of the walnut and the black lacquer and the shiny and the matte. And even the chairs. If you see the chairs at the dining table there, Diane, you have these chairs in your kitchen? These are called casino chairs. And they have beautiful nail head details, and they have a little handle on the back of them. And they're actually done in a faux leather, so they're actually, as beautiful as they are, they actually function great for a kitchen. So, and light fixtures. Light fixtures to me, on the back, if you go there, light fixtures are jewel. Like when I guess some people are shoe people, some people are jacket people.
Those are earrings. That's a pair of earrings.
To me, like I walk into a house, and the thing that I look at that tells me the quality of the house is the hardware on the doors and the light fixtures. And that just tells you like what level you're dealing with in a house. And those are the kind of details that are really important, like, drapery hardware. You think, oh, and you walk in, you go, I don't know why, but this place feels, timeless and rich and classic. And it's all those little details that make the difference. And these light fixtures, Charles Edwards in London is one of my favorite places in the world. And they make the most incredible light fixtures. So anytime I can use anything from Charles Edwards, I'm always happy.
And this light fixture here, or the chandelier, the
so this is going to be in Town and Country in November. This is Tommy Hilfiger's bar in Palm Beach, and this was a complete gut. And we took a house that had been added onto and added onto and added onto, and it looked like it was such a mess. And he wanted to bring it back to classicism, But what he really loves is like Hermes orange, and he wanted this. The house is called Coral House, and I wanted the bar a little bit more coral, but he wanted it more Hermes. So if you've ever done anything in lacquer, you realize that lacquer is unforgiving. You know, it's all about the prep. You have to make sure that it's perfect before you can lacquer anything. And then, so we lacquered all the walls, and then afterwards we're like, this needs a little more. And we had somebody come in, and this is all real bamboo that's applied on top of the lacquer after we lacquered it. And again, here we are with the textures. You know, the ceiling is Pecky cypress, the walls are lacquer, the details are all bamboo. Then there's a little fretwork bamboo down under that little bookcase, as you can see, and it's mirrored in the back. So at night, when the lights are low, it kind of sparkles, and it's really sexy. And even that mirror that's behind the sofa there, I had a local artist named Krista Shells make this, and that's a TV, and you turn it on, and you can watch the game, and you can watch whatever on it. And but when it's off, it's just kind of sparkles and is kind of magical. So this is the lounge space at this house in Palm Beach.
I'm going to skip to the other room that you've done with shells. Oh, well, okay,
Oh,
so this is the rest of that.
So this is the bar, and the chandelier we had made custom, and this is about bespoke details. The bar we designed, and as you can see, you know, it's lacquered, and we have this bamboo, but it's mirrored behind it, like, because just lacquer and bamboo isn't enough. We have to throw a mirror in there too. But then what you don't see is when you're in here at night, underneath the bar, we have an LED light that lights up, and it kind of just glows. And then I always love anything that has a little nod to English. So, you know, the library lights over actually this room originally was a library. And I can't tell you how many libraries I've turned in, Diane, into a bar, because people now are on their phone checking Wikipedia instead of like reading. So take your library and turn it into a bar. Every room in the house should have a bar. But anyway, so this was, the canopy on this was taken from a Bespoke house in England. And then we glazed it to look like the color of the bamboo. And as pretty as this is, everything functions. Those chairs swivel, and the window treatments were all hand embroidered with coral. From the name of the house is Coral House, and it's all hand embroidered with coral and little tiny beads on it. So that's it.
All right, well, Darren, let's take a look at
do it.
some of yours. I'm
I
going to
haven't
skip
seen these.
through
This is gonna be a
some. I know
surprise.
these
You're going to
gorgeous.
skip through it?
Well,
Or you want to go through that one?
you want to do that one last, and then we'll
Yeah.
yeah.
This was
Go for it.
the bomb. You know, this is like, you know, it's really nice to have a client that lets you do things like this. So they had come back from Capri, this client, and she had this love of lemons. And I was kind of thinking, oh, this is going to end up feeling a little juvenile or whatever. But De Gournay, we worked with De Gournay, and De Gournay hand-painted all these lemon panels for us. And there's a company called Accents of France, and this is about collecting. When you hire a decorator, you're not just hiring a decorator, because all of you have great taste. You found Nantucket, look at you, you're all dressed beautifully. But you need somebody who has the sources and who has the organizational skills to get things done. So we designed this dining room in Palm Beach with Accents of France, and they did the renovation at the Ritz in Paris. And when you go into the Ritz in Paris in the courtyard, you see all that beautiful trillage work. That's Philippe. And I met Philippe probably 20 years ago at a gift show in New York when it used to be at the Piers. And he's this handsome Frenchman. I had to meet him. And so in this room, instead of just making a typical lattice room, again, the clients wanted it to sparkle. And when they entertained at night, they really wanted it to be, you know, a sort of a surprise and a little bit of a kick, and always like that little bit extra. Like my other half always says, you know, it's not done till it's overdone. So, you know, we couldn't have just lattice, and we couldn't have painting, we couldn't have just De Gournay. We also, behind the lattice, put mirrors so that at night, when you have candlelight on the table, the whole place just glows, and everybody looks beautiful and sexy. And then during the day, it's actually quite subtle, but it brings light into the room and around the room. And then the client also has these incredible collections of dishes. And so outside of this room, which you can't see, is a closet that we turned into a dish room. And it's all, so you can actually see all these beautiful things you're collected rather than having them behind doors. And lastly, this hallway is amazing because that rug is all made out of abaca. It's made out of raffia, and it's cut lemons, and it's curved, not to make things even more, difficult for the decorator. Instead of, think about making a straw rug in 3 colors on a curve, cut out to look like half of lemons. So this rug goes on the curve, and that's the kitchen on the other side. And then we hand cut out all these, Joe Shea, who's the de Gournay and Gracie, aficionado for installing all this. And there's another guy I've known for 30 years. And he hand cut out all this, and we stood there and placed them all on the ceiling and all that. And the funny story is my daughter now works for me. And to give her a little pitch, she was just voted Next Generation by House Beautiful, and it's in last month's House Beautiful. But Joe's son runs Gracie wall covering in New York, and my daughter, now runs, is working at me. And it was like, we looked at each other one day, we said, who would ever think, 25, 30 years later, both our children would be working in our businesses with us? So it was very, very wonderful. So.
Oh, look, there's me.
Yeah. So let's talk. Let's talk about you.
So what I would really want to talk about, like Cindy uses the word we a lot, and the we in my office, like, yes, I'm talented, I'm brilliant, all those good things, but the we is really all of the vendors that I bring in, because I never assume that I know more than anybody who's about to make something. So in my office, we're super collaborative and really interested in working with the manufacturers and the craftsmen. A, they know more than I do. B, I can design a better product if I know how something's actually made. So this is one of the tower apartments in the Ansonia. Kind of a funny story, I'll tell it quick. A client of mine, who are the most basic people, who live really, really simply, says, I bought my daughter an apartment in the Ansonia. We've totally got it. We have drawings done for a 1-bedroom. And I'm leaving one day, and the doorman says, the apartment above just came free market. It's available. It's no longer rent controlled. And I call the client because he's a real estate guy. And I'm like, Harvey, the apartment upstairs just became available. He's like, great. Calls me the next day and says, okay, make a duplex. And I was like, wait, what? How did you do that so fast? He's like, I own the building. I was like, okay, had no idea. But that was pretty funny. So this is the only duplex in the Ansonia. It's a landmark building. It's the only duplex there will ever be in the Ansonia. The walls are a wallpaper called Canon wallpaper. And they've got they're hand blocked and printed. And I worked with the wallpaper guy, and I was like, look, I don't want these just lining up and being stripes on the wall. It's going to be too long. It's going to be too dull. So he cut them in 4 different sizes and changed them and turned them, and the edges all overlap. So there's all this texture when you walk up the staircase. And then with the HVAC guy, like, I go down and dirty. Like, the HVAC guy, the architect, had a grill, a passive air intake grill, just above what is now that mirror. So instead, we designed the mirror to be a permanent fixture on the wall, and the HVAC grill is actually hidden up above in that piece of crown molding. So, the people who make my work really great are the people who actually touch, handle, make something, and have a talent. Because sure, I might have an eye, but I don't know everything. This is actually my daughter's bedroom.
Did your daughter
bathroom.
tell you that?
What?
You don't know everything?
Actually,
He
one of
has
them,
2
I have
daughters.
16-year-old twins, and they're suddenly like, you're stupid.
Yeah.
So they're not that rude, but it's sort of like that. This is actually their bathroom in the country. And again, like, I was like, oh, put beadboard on the wall. And then when the carpenter started, cutting stuff and working, I would like to say I was the one who was like, the walls should be horizontal and they should be 8 inches, and then the dado above that should be beadboard and it should be vertical. It was the cabinet maker, it was the carpenter. He was like, we could do something cooler and more fun. And so that's my pleasure. I recently had an interview with a client, and she said, I have no interest in, I have a reputation for, like, I do everything custom. And I'm interviewing with this woman, and she said, I have no interest in being your Medici. And I was like, okay, that's weird. But she's like, I want stuff that I can see, that I can understand, that I can get. I don't want to have to imagine what it's going to look like. Okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I said, I'm going to give you a junior person in the office, and he'll just buy you everything out of a catalog. And she was like, great. So she was happy. This, again, I wish my work all looked the same, because I could get work constantly, because people wouldn't be afraid to hire me, because they would know what they were getting every single time. You never know what you're getting, because I'm designing for you, and I'm working with different craftsmen every time. This was a Persian couple, polar opposite of my personal taste, like flashy, glitzy. But she said to me, I don't want a single thing in my house that another human being on the planet owns. So everything is custom. The chairs were custom. The rugs made out of cowhide, which is called pony skin. The walls are green velvet with 14 karat gold plated nail head trim. And that light fixture is 8 feet across. It's made with 450 shards of selenite, which is a crystal that comes out of caves in Mexico. 150 of them are gold plated. Each one of them screws in, and every single one of them has its own LED light. Literally, this was like, I want a big dome fixture. And then I started working with the lighting guy who specializes in selenite. And between the two of us, that's what we came up with. It's not like I'm, I don't know why I'm denigrating myself. I'm not denigrating myself. The point is, like, you get the ultimate when you actually use the talent of the craftspeople that you're working with. This was their bar. Our first meeting, she brought out a salad plate that was faux malachite. And I was like, great, your bar is going to be malachite. And then there's this woman, Karen Atta, who's way in the West 30s by the tunnel. And she's just grungy and funky, and like, she's in this old factory. But you go in and you talk to Karen, and Karen creates these lucite textures and tops and colors, and they're either opaque or they're clear and see-through. And then the lighting guy, I was like, okay, I want to light the bottom of this. He said, you know that there are now sheets of LED lighting. It's no longer strip. I didn't know this. How would I have known this? And he introduced me to this, and thus it is a perfectly smooth and continuous glow on this bar when they turn the bar on. What's next? Okay, this is kind of a funny story. So this is a townhouse I did downtown. The walls are red lacquered. Then they're like glazed over it. This was a client who I've done 5 houses for, and on this one she was like, I want over the top. And I was like, okay, let's do over the top. And they were lacquered and all that good stuff. And I mean, wacky story, but we had made massive, massive boards. It was supposed to be Hermes orange. And we'd made huge boards. And this cost solid 6 figures to do this lacquer work. And she walks in the day that it's completely finished. The 14 karat gold leafing has been done on the molding. She's like, I'd really rather it was redder. And I went home that night, and I literally was on the verge of tears. I was just like, I can't believe this. Like, I had 7 craftspeople working on this room, and this is breaking my heart. And my husband said, don't you work on commission? Yeah. And I said, yeah. He said, shut up and do it again. He's a lawyer. He's like, so I shut up and we did it again. Go back for 1 second, because there's actually, okay, so I'll go quickly. So this was Kips Bay in Dallas. That's a grooved tile. That's 12 by 12 sheets from Artistic Tile. And again, I worked with the tile guy, and I was like, let's cut strips, and we're going to turn it horizontal and perpendicular and create a baseboard. So it's all one material, but it's got a baseboard, it's got a crown, it's got framing around the mirror. And that was totally collaborative.
So I want to, let's see.
Do it. What?
Well, I want to get to Melanie, and then, but
go,
is there some?
Go. Tell me to shut up.
Oh, well, what this floor? Do you want to say something about the floor? That's pretty cool.
Again, this is my house in the country. So, we were doing this house. We were doing a renovation, and the kitchen's massive. My husband's an amazing cook, but I'm obsessive about collecting china. So one side of the kitchen is just for cooking and never the twain shall meet. But it was kind of boring when it was done. It was just 3 shades of white, Farrow and Ball white. I don't know if they're here. And then I hired this guy, Matt Austin. And Matt's an artist, and I was like, go. Like, just go. And he said, great, we're going to do the piazza in Portugal that has this very 3D effect. And I worked with him. I said, I don't want you to first cover the floor with paint because I don't want it to look like it's brand new. So I'm drawing a blank on what the word's called. When you paint something first to give it a solid base before you put the decorative finish on top of it, it is called
Glazing?
primer. Great.
Primer.
So I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Primer, thank you very much. From the attractive girl with the dark hair. And so there was no primer put down. We watered down all the paint so that all of the pine has a lot of sap in it, and it has a tendency to bleed through, and I wanted it to bleed through. I wanted it to look like the floor was old, worn, beat up from the second it was painted. So literally within 2 days, all the sap started to bleed through, and that's not worn. That's literally just all the grains coming through. So anyway, that's that floor.
So
Go,
Melanie, tell us
Melanie.
about
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this project was a special project in North Georgia, and I also like to use authentic materials and start with the architectural materials. So we were involved with this project from the ground up, and it was an extensive renovation, parts of it, and then the other parts were brand new. And so we used reclaimed stone material from France, from Chateau de Ming.
Oh, that's cool.
So these are about 300 years old from a monastery. The doors are all bronze from Riley Architectural, and
Those are beautiful.
so we did try to instill some important details. The wife was Finnish, so we found fabrics that were Finnish material, lace, and those intricate patterns that we wanted to instill throughout the home, so you can see throughout the slides. But we use lime plaster because it's a living finish and just has that ethereal glow, and the warmth of the reclaimed wood materials. This is a vintage oak. So, it just kind of captures that spirit of it. It's a timeless space that is new, but the old materials really did stand proud. Again, this is the same home. We used the same white oak material throughout. Some was vintage, some was new. We did, custom sinks out of soapstone, incorporated new cabinetry, but I think the plaster and the warmth of the wood just kind of gives it a simplicity and authenticity. This project is a co-op in the center of Atlanta, in Buckhead, but the clients really wanted a kind of a New York pied-à-terre. And so they love New York. They spend a lot of time there. They go to France. So they just said, design something that has a casual elegance. We want to live in this home. We want to have our friends over. We want to be able to feel comfortable without being too stuffy. And so they had some existing French posters that they really wanted to incorporate into the color scheme. And so we used those vintage posters and brought out the red tones. And you can see here on the right, it's a built-in china cabinet that actually recesses into the wall. We didn't have space for, a piece of furniture that would house all their china collections. So we had some space that was built in, that was an old closet that we had just recessed this into.
It's pretty.
This bar was in their family room, so it was important for them to have a place where they could come in from a long day and just put their feet up, have a drink, away from the more formal area. And again, the dining room, the dining table here, there's an opening on the left side here that actually looks straight up to that built-in red china cabinet. So you have that focal point, and that room is very livable. They have cocktail parties there all the time. And then on the opposite side is the kitchen, which I think is the next shot. Oh, no. This is not the kitchen.
Oh.
In that,
Oh,
I don't know where
okay.
that other photo is, but
They use a lot of tomatoes.
yes.
Oh, wow.
So this was a designer show house, and
Okay.
we were tasked with the back scullery or catering kitchen. And when the house was under construction, so I was trying to figure out a way to do something different that was going to push the envelope. And I love plaster. The lime plaster is one of my favorites. And so I said, what if we clad the cabinets with plaster? And Chateau Domingue does make a pastelone plaster, which is very durable. You can use it in showers, on floors. And we clad the entire cabinets with this pastelone plaster.
Wow.
And
Oh.
yeah, so
Okay.
it was a big hit. And again, this was another project that we did. The owners or the clients loved California, and they had a property that was next to their existing home in Buckhead. And they wanted to have a guest house built that had the California vibe. So we really infused a fresh perspective from what they currently lived in and made this a guest house for their family and friends to come and visit and have more of that California aesthetic. And then this is the kitchen in that same home. The light fixture is a Hallworth fixture that is a constellation. She's a Gemini, so that actually is the shape of a Gemini, the zodiac sign. So at night it's really cool because it's the glass is really thick on the lens, so it just kind of sparkles, and it's just a very beautiful, simple fixture.
And what about the range?
I'll get it.
The hood. Oh,
So we used a Lacanche range, and it's like this really wonderful apple green, celadon color. So we matched that with the hood. So
very cool.
it makes a statement.
Yeah.
And this is just a beautiful painting of Mark Hoffman that, just was a focal point as you come into the house. This is the bathroom in the same home.
Are those stone walls or are those
Yeah,
wood?
what's the wall?
That's wood. It's just wood, reeded wood panels.
That's cool.
And we offset the fixture so that
Yeah, that's
it was a balance with the painting.
Oh, that was clever.
Did you choose where to put the painting first?
Yeah, that's
No, I knew we were going to put.
That's like so interesting.
yeah.
I knew I was going to get a painting for there, but we obviously had to put the light fixture in first because
Yeah.
during construction.
Yeah, that's what.
Put the
Marla,
plan all
we're
along.
not at questions yet. We're not at questions yet.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
I know, exactly. I didn't want to just have a center fixture.
Yeah.
I wanted that juxtaposition.
Chaos.
Great painting.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm skipping ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, so this-
yeah.
So this is another home, quickly. That was a triptych from the client had from their grandparents from the 1980s. So we used that as, bringing out the color palette throughout the living room.
Oh my God, if their grandparents were from the 1980s, like how young were these people? Oh my God, like, what were they, 12?
No. They purchased the painting in the 90s, sorry.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, and so this obviously was new construction too, but we created this porthole with, wrapped it in wood, and coat closets are on the right, the powder room is on the left. It was just a nice way to kind of transition through spaces without having doorknobs. So this is the family room. Again, this was an interesting client because they, the father was president of Mohawk Industries, so they really did want to use Mohawk products.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge for, giving them a high-end luxury look by using a lot of the Mohawk industry
Yeah.
materials. So it really challenged us. And I think that, we sourced all the wood, all the tile, the stone countertops, even the roofing material all came from Mohawk Industries. And you know, it's such a high-end luxury home and has such a nice flair to it that it's a great use of their product. And they were so pleased because, you know, they really did want to utilize their products from the company. So.
And then, what was the last one? Oh, okay, maybe Okay.
You broke it.
well, well, I love seeing all your work. It gives us a foundation to continue the conversation. So when so many of these aspects that we've looked at, I mean, they're very detailed. So how do you find the artisans and the craftsmen who you work with to create these details?
I actually think it's incredibly easy. I think it's incredibly easy now. Like, there was a thing that the New York Times, when the New York Times had a home section, there was a resource guide every week. And I obsessively read that resource guide and called every single person that was in that guide all the time. And some of them were crap, but some of them were amazing. And now, like, this stuff pops up on Instagram. I call them. I call these people all, like, somebody making a random ceramic, whatever. And I'll call them up and be like, you know, do you want to do lighting with this? Like, where are you from? Where are you selling? Do you have rep? Are you looking to be collaborative? I don't know. I don't think it's, if you're curious, and I think we're all pretty curious.
And you know who's tried and true too sometimes.
100%.
Well, that's the trickier part, actually, is weeding out and getting these loyal vendors that when you call them and say, oh my God, I need you like tomorrow, and they go, okay, I'll be there for you. And that's the thing about the relationship building. And you know, you do that with clients. You know, most of our clients are repeat clients, and the same thing with our vendors. If I call them, they're going to show up because they know that, you know, in the future they're going to have more work. But it's also just, it used to be more like, you know, beating the ground. Like, I remember being in London and going to the beginning of King's Road to the end of King's Road and going into every shop and all that. And now, like you said, because of Instagram and social media, you don't have to do that as much. But even guides like, you know, I just did the Kips Bay Show House, and, you know, you're in Florida and I'm doing work in Florida, and there's a whole resource guide in the back of it. And it's sort of, they've been tested for you. You could go into these rooms at Kips Bay and say, wow, you know, I found my glass guy there because I love the shower door that he did for somebody.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just, like, I don't remember names, but I remember like visual things, you know, and then I write down everything in my phone, so I keep it handy.
I think it's interesting that you just said that about Kips Bay, because I think a lot of people go to Kips Bay for the resource guide, and what they don't understand is we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, every single designer keeps the resource guide from Kips Bay, and you're making notes of the people who did something in a room that was really spectacular. So that's another really solid.
And clients also, like, they just sometimes say, oh, well, I have I know this painter, I'll just hire him myself.
No.
And then you sit there and you're saying,
Wow.
you know what, you're a one-off, you're just doing this one project. We're doing 20 projects. When something goes wrong and you get a leak and I call the painter, he's going to show up. And when we're standing there and you can't figure out, do I want latex, do I want flat, do I want shine, we're answering all those questions. And so whatever our minimal fee is on these vendors, it's really worth it because, you know, they're not going to come back for just a one-off project, but they're going to come back for somebody that's done 20 projects with them, 30. I mean, my painter, I think I put both his kids through college, you know, and actually it's very funny because one of my painters is Brazilian, and I'd been working with him for a number of years, and he was getting married, and so he invited me to his wedding. And I was like, oh, this is like really sweet. And I arrive, and he has me sitting next to his mother at the wedding. Gosh. And he's like, oh my God, you've changed my life for me. I came here, there was nobody that, you know, and you literally, I came like not knowing anybody, and I started working, and I was an assistant to somebody, and you took it on. And, you know, and this is somebody I've known for 15 years now, and now his son works for him, and, you know, it's
amazing.
It's really sweet, though. You know, it really is family. It's really fun.
So when you travel or take jobs, you know, outside of your usual area, do you bring these people with you? Or?
Oh, I've got a great story. Yeah. I did this ranch in Wyoming, and it was a 3-year project, and we did like the guest house, and then they were building this giant log house. And this was literally a compound. It's on my website. It's really it had a bowling alley, because you're in the middle of nowhere. You're like, the driveway was like a 20-minute drive to get to the house, and there's nothing there, so everything had to be created. So there was a bowling theater. I mean, there was a tennis court. There was a bowling alley. There's a home theater, and I found these concho belts. Jim Morrison used to have those leather pants. He'd have a sexy concho belt on it, and they're very Western with the silver buckles. And so I decided in this theater where there were all lights that we were going to upholster the walls in this kind of Western wool, and the curtains were going to be, these Roman shades that were electric, which was very cool at the time because I was just started doing it. And then the cornices, we put these concho belts. I bought like 30 of them, and they were all upholstered on top of the concho belt. But my upholsterer is from Jamaica, and he flew out to Wyoming, and he spent 3 days on a ladder, and every time I'd go in there, he was playing reggae, and and it was just like, and he goes everywhere with me, and I'm really sad because he kind of wants to retire now, and I have a project that we're doing that's really special in November in Palm Beach, and I was like, you can't retire.
Yeah.
I don't care. You've said no 3 times. You're coming with me, and
Is that similar for you guys? Are you really?
So Palm Beach, I mean, like, we're doing 2 things in Palm Beach right now, and I called half a dozen decorators who do a ton of work down there, and across the board, they all said, use your own vendors in New York and bring them down.
Yeah, you have to.
Like,
Okay, really?
yeah.
Interesting.
So, I mean, the window treatments are all being made in New York. I flew a painter down there. Look, does it sound extravagant? Maybe. Does it sound unreasonable? Not really. Is it a little more expensive? Yeah, a little. But we can control it. We can get it done. It can happen.
And you know what the outcome's going to be.
And you know what the outcome's going to be. And
Well,
so-
the other thing is clients think, oh, I want to save money by not flying your guy down, find somebody local. But clients never remember that you saved them money. They just remember at the end whether they love the room or not.
right.
Yeah.
And that's really true. It's
It's
like,
100%
how
true.
many times have you gone out and bought a dress because you think, oh, it's on sale and this is so great, and look at, and then you get home and you're like, I don't really like it, but it was a good deal. And I'm not saying that, everything we do is extravagant. I'm just saying that the little, whatever the addition is to have him fly down to
The
New York,
percentage.
in the long run, it's like, it's just a snooze in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah. I say to people all the time, we're talking about a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 difference on a project that's whatever it is.
Yeah.
I said, the second you walk in, or a year after you've been living there, you are never going to remember that number again. You're going to forget that number in 10 seconds.
No, but they just remember if they loved it or not.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
So do you share resources with other designers? Do you seek
Never.
referrals?
Well, I mean, Darren, so I'm doing a project up in Millbrook, and I'm calling Darren all the time saying, hey, do you have, where do I shop? And, who are your resources? So
Yeah.
he gets back to me right away.
I find...
And he says tent.
Yeah,
Exactly.
of course.
Yeah.
That's always first on
yeah.
his list.
Yeah.
He's good at
Actually, well, I just did Kips Bay in Dallas. I don't know a soul in Dallas. And somebody, I don't remember who, hooked me up with an architect in Dallas that I hired to oversee the construction. And he was like, you have this resource and that resource and this. And when we were installing a piece of art, the contractor had actually made the wall half an inch smaller than it was supposed to be, and it impacted the ability to put the artwork up. I don't know a framer in Dallas, and I needed a framer that day because it was opening the next day. And one of the decorators who's there all the time, she was like, oh, call this person, tell them you're a friend of mine, they'll come and pick it up, you'll have it back in 3 hours. So, yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's a great community because, designers, we've all been in the same situations where we need help or we need, somebody to back us up. And I think that's where, it's a special group of people that always are looking out for each other.
So your advice to newer designers, trying to find these specialized craftspeople is to look toward other pros, designers.
Yeah. I mean, some might be more protective of their vendors
Right,
than
that's
others.
what I'm wondering. Is there a sense of, oh, I don't
But all
want
the magazines pretty much list most of the vendors on things.
They do,
Yeah.
but I will say the designers that I've met who hoard their vendors,
Yeah.
I don't like them as people.
Yeah. Right.
I genuinely, no joke. I'm like, I don't like them. And it's not because they didn't give me the vendor. It's I spend more time with them and I think they're not a kind,
Yeah.
generous person. Like that's not, Jamie Drake, I met Jamie Drake 30 years ago when I was just starting out. And Jamie said, if you ever need anything, call me. And there have been easily half a dozen times in 30 years when I've called Jamie and been like, okay, a screw up just happened. I don't know what to do about this. And he was like, call this guy.
Well, like events like this, like Design Week, is that, you meet all the other designers and you actually, we're all in the same boat, you
Right.
know? And it's really, when you meet people one-on-one, and unfortunately now, it drives me crazy because, email me and I'll get you a quote. Email me and I'll do this. Before you used to pick up the phone and you had relationships with the people.
Yeah.
And that's what all of it is. It's about relationship building with your clients so that they trust you. It's about relationship building with your vendors so they trust you. And, we're all here to do the best job we can for each other. So when you're at these events, it's great because you meet.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you next week when I need
Yeah.
somebody.
But it's funny about the email thing. I just hired this 27-year-old guy. And we go through a list like, did you take care of X, Y, and Z? And he's like, yes. And I said, well, how did you take care of it? And he'll say, I emailed them. I'm like, that is not, that is a
Right.
method of getting information from here to there. That is not actually getting something done. So no, you didn't talk to them. Like, you didn't do it. You just pushed the information off your desk. And that's not actually getting the work done.
But that's the generational way that they're doing it. I mean, I
100%.
see it in my industry. We're
Right. And I say all the time, I'm like, pick up the
Pick up the
phone
phone.
and
It's
call them
important.
right now because I want the answer now,
But also-
not when they might get to the email.
But also, I have to say is that, if you ever read Outliers, it's like 20,000
Yeah.
hours of doing something. And, when you're doing this for a number of years, like I sat on job sites with faux finishers. And I went to art school, I went to RISD, I know a lot about art, I know a lot about mixing paints. But then when you stand there and you watch them do it, all of a sudden, by osmosis, at least if you're interested, like, you learn so much. So then you're talking with them and say, oh, you need to add a little more umber to this, or you need a different kind of glaze on this, and I want the silver leaf like matted down. And it makes everybody's jobs easier. But the thing that I think is most fun is it's continual graduate school.
Yeah.
We're on a perpetual treasure hunt to find sources and find great things and to find great clients and to find, and
And it's the same with
that
me,
learning process to me is the most exciting part.
And I try to tell my staff just to go out on the job site. Just go out and talk to the subcontractors, learn how to, tiles installed.
Yeah.
Because that's the best training. And, it's important because you can't learn that stuff on the computer and
Okay.
drawing, two-dimensional drawings. So get their hands dirty,
I
just be out
had this
there.
amazing experience too, and like that's what's so cool about what we do. I did an apartment in the Plaza Hotel, and it's the turret. It's like it's a famous, iconic apartment, and it was 2 floors. We duplexed it, and there was this round breakfast room, and my client said, "Oh, let's hire Hilary Knight, who did Eloise at the Plaza, wrote the book." And so I spent almost a month and a half with Hilary Knight painting this mural in this room with the family in the Central Park and the whole thing, and like and like, wow, I mean, that gives me chills. It's like, oh my God, here I am. You go to design school, you do all this, and then I'm sitting here with Hilary Knight in this room, like doing this. It's like so exciting, So.
well.
And
I
he
think,
signed a book to my daughter, which was really sweet.
well, I think we've reached our time. We're getting like the
We have this
blinking.
big thing flashing at us, like
know.
you're out of
It's a
time.
timer. So, but we'd love to take some questions, and Marla is gonna hop around with her.
With my beach hat.
No,
Did you think that I wasn't going to end the way I started?
I mean,
Okay.
come on,
Okay.
finish what you started.
Of course. So I'm just going to open it up to everybody. If there are any questions, I'm happy to walk around in my beach hat and bring my microphone and let you speak up. No?
I have 2 quick comments. One, Cindy, Darren, and Melanie, thank you so much. You're obviously pursuing your calling. You're very talented. Your work is incredible. Darren,
Keep going.
you're next.
I need more.
You are a treat.
Thank you.
Your personality is vibrant,
How much do you pay her?
electric.
Unfortunately,
She's a plant,
I
right?
paid for the earrings.
But most importantly, I have been in this industry for 37 years. I know I look 25, that's some work done. In 1989, I was on the board of ASID representing industry. And in 1989, industry was like a stepsister. So I love what you said about we, that you collaborate with your tradespeople, that your project is a representation of everyone. Recently, I moderated an event and I surprised the panel and I just listened to my heart and I played that song, We're All in This Together, from the High School Musical, because we're all in this together. And Cindy, to your point, I was at a conference recently and a designer said, gee, sometimes I worry and wonder, am I making a difference by being a designer? Like, is that changing the world? And there was a great response. The response was, you absolutely are, because you are creating and stimulating an economy. You changed a whole family's trajectory in this lifetime. So never underestimate what you're actually doing. Not only beautiful, but you're an economic stimulus. So just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind. I would love to hear all of your favorite white color. Like, I wanted to know, what is your go-to white? I know, and this is I know you don't want to tell me, do you?
Oh, no, I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
But,
I know this is
there's
hard, but I feel
never
like everybody
one.
has their
There's,
favorite
like-
white, and I feel like this is the color. People always have it. That's challenging. For some reason, you would think it's like a neutral and basic, but it's not. A lot of people, it's so hard to find that perfect white.
Right.
So I would
Go.
love to know each of your perfect white.
I don't use a lot of white,
Okay.
actually. And
Okay.
if I do, it's always a little off. It's a little bit limestone, and it's not pure, clean white, because I think white is a really cold color
Yes,
sometimes.
yes.
And I think for my nails, I use ballet slipper.
Ooh.
And, you know,
I like that. That's a good answer.
So an optometrist actually once told me that pure white
Yeah.
makes something in your eyes vibrate.
Yeah.
And it can actually be incredibly unsettling. It's why an all-white room is either very stimulating or really unsettling for some people. So I never
Like a
use
hospital
Yeah,
white,
it's
like
so-
that kind of.
we
Like
always do
stark,
off-white.
stark
It's always,
white.
yeah, it's
So
always a
I'll give you
tone of
three.
white.
And they're all fair and ball, sorry. Pointing, which is quite white, but there's a tiny, tiny bit of cream in it. Matchstick, which is a little more kind of putty in color. What's the other one? Pointing, white tie, and white tie. Those are my three fair and ball whites.
Yep. I love white tie. Use that a lot. Old white. Use that Pharaoh and Ball, and then white dove from Benjamin Moore.
Yeah, white tie. Yeah. Why, are you painting something white?
No, I
Yeah.
just,
Free?
I
You want
just think it's
free
it's a
consultation?
question that comes up all the time. I think it's really hard to find that perfect white for all the reasons that you're describing. I mean, I
Right.
just think that finding that perfect balance of like having it be the white, but also having it not
Be
I don't know,
cold.
be too stark or be
Yeah.
too cold.
Right,
Feel
harsh.
warm and work with everything else in the room.
And it
harsh.
changes for every
And it
environment.
changes.
Yeah,
And it
So-
changes with their finish. And
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
just curious.
A lot of times when we get things published, you know, you'll get these phone calls and it's like, well, what's the color on the walls?
Yeah.
And I always like laugh because I'm like, it has only to do with what everything else is around it. So even when my office, we get a strike off for something, and I say to them, you know, you can't just look at a strike off and say I like it or don't like it. Put it down with the entire scheme, because, you know, Anne Marie was telling me the story. She was doing white floors in her house, and they brought samples, and they kept turning orange. And, you know, the walls had this backing that they were using because they patched some of the walls, that orange, you know, plywood paper. And she's like, no, you can't get the color right, you can't get the. And then she took it outside, and it was white, but it was next to the wrong background, so it kept changing on her, you know? And that's one of the things, like in the office, I always say to the kids, don't be lazy. Get all the fabrics out. Look at this when you're making decisions, because it's only as good as what it's next to, you know?
That's true.
I can't see above my head.
Cindy, this is a question for you. Lloyd Princeton. I've had the pleasure of meeting your daughter, Taylor, who's utterly charming. And listening to your story, which is, you know, business that you've built for decades, which sounds like a vibrant but a real business entity. I'm hoping that, you know, Taylor's going to take the business over, but if
she is too. She's open.
Exactly right. Don't give in too easily. If she wasn't interested, is that something that, you know, you kind of thought about as you were building your business? Who takes over, or did you figure this is my business and when I'm done?
Well, you know, it's a really interesting question, because my son is actually really creative, and he's got the sexiest apartment in Miami that you've ever seen, and he's a little jealous of Taylor, but he's a techie. So, you know, the thing is that I always say people, like, when my children were young, I always did these incredible bedrooms for them, and I remember doing that. I remember wanting that because when I was a little girl, this will sound really crazy, my mother painted my bedroom walls charcoal gray, and it had white lacquer crown molding and ceiling, and then white sheers on all the windows, and, you know, an iron white bed. And then she put a mobile over the bed with butterflies and hand decoupage butterflies on the wall. And I thought, wow, she loves me.
Aww.
You know? Sorry to cry. And when I did my children's rooms, like Taylor's bedroom, I had a faux painter come in and do this beautiful English folly and these, you know, mirrored French doors, and she had all her tutus and everything in them. And then she was about 3, and I came in. We were lying in bed one night, and it's like 2 a.m, and I come in, and I look up, and she's covered with lipstick all over her face, all over her hands, all over her feet. And my brand new rug that I just had down for a week in the dust removal was covered with lipstick. And she had drawn, and she had watched the faux painter for 2 weeks painting on her walls. And I said, Taylor, what'd you do? And she's like, why, Mommy? Why, Mommy? She got so upset with me because I was like, you know, I was upset about the dust removal, but it's one of my favorite stories in life, so you just have to get over it, you know? But I feel very blessed because when you do build a business, and it's something that we kind of, you know, I think it's true for all of us, you know, it's not something we do, it's something we are, you know, like everything we do, it's almost like a calling that you have no choice over it. But she has an incredible eye, and she's got a good business sense, and she likes to do all the things I don't like to do, like the social media and all this. So I am really, really feel totally blessed, and she's really pissed off that she's not here because she's back at the office running the show, and I'm like, it's all about paying your dues. But she also got broken in by somebody else. She worked for Kathy Kincaid in Dallas for 3 years, and then she worked with de Gournay in London and Paris and New York, which was like the dream job. And she was Emily in Paris and lived in Maman with her best gay friend, and, you know, ran around Paris for, like, what better education possibly can you have? So take your kids everywhere, honor your kids, decorate their rooms, and, you know, it gives them their sense of style when they get older.
It's true.
You know?
That's really beautiful. Melanie, didn't your daughter just win an award as well? Or
She did. She's sitting right here.
Oh.
In the dress, right there.
Congratulations.
My daughter, Megan.
Congratulations.
So she's currently at NYSID, and she just won the student competition for the Nantucket by Design. So her boards are on display right outside that door, and I'm very proud of her. She's my rising star, and, you know, very passionate about what she does as well. So she's got 1 more year left of school, but she's been working with Ken Folk as their studio assistant.
Whoa.
Okay.
Dream
And
job.
She worked for David Kleinberg a year ago before that, and Tammy Connor.
You want to come work for me?
So,
Right, exactly.
I know. So she's already gotten a wealth of experience. So very proud of her.
It's a beautiful tradition that you are both creating with your children. That's wonderful.
How about your daughters? Come on.
Yeah.
Got to get them in the design business.
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, not yet.
They think he's stupid right now, so that's.
They what?
They think you're stupid right now, so they're
Yeah, at
probably.
the moment they think I'm stupid,
Yeah, they
so that's
still don't
not
think
going
you're
to work.
cool enough. Maybe another 5 years. They
Yeah.
go, okay.
Right.
Is there anybody else?
Well, I just want to say something about Cindy, who I've known for a long time, and I've seen everything you've done. I've been in your home and your homes, you know, in Greenwich. I love that house you built.
Thank you.
But I watched your children grow up,
Aw.
and I had no idea, the room behind
Yeah.
right there is, when that came on, I was like, took my breath away. And then you explained the rug, and you guys are amazing, and this gentleman, you're so young to do what you're doing.
So yeah.
He's such a flirt.
Unbelievable.
I love this guy.
Well, this is going sideways.
Hey,
My kind of party.
Sean, can he have him?
Marla,
Yes.
shots of tequila.
Yeah, exactly. We'll dig around. We're kidding.
Thanks.
Upcoming, you know, I didn't even know the word of what you do before you, but you know how to do it, and it comes through. Where did you learn stuff?
Well, I told you, other people teach me. And I will say so quickly, like we're so out of time, but I'm going to do this quickly. Because where did I learn, honestly? So my family owned textile mills in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, and Lowell, Massachusetts. And for 3 summers, my dad made me work in the mills. And one summer I worked in the dye lab. One summer I worked in the finishing department. And one summer I worked in the weaving factories in Lowell. And here's what I learned. Yeah, I learned a lot about color, a lot about texture, a lot about textiles. But what I most importantly learned is that guy in 1981 or 2 who probably didn't have a high school education, who was making about $20,000 a year, he could touch the fabric coming off of a Decatur machine or some other machine and know immediately if the wheels were moving too quickly, too slow, if it was too tight, if it was too loose. So that's where I learned that that guy is worth gold. So, you know, you say, how do you know X, Y, and Z? I have a story for you about that, actually. How do I know X, Y, and Z? I don't.
No.
But I know who to ask to find out. So about the economy, like supporting the economy, that super crazy red lacquer room that cost a fortune, she's the daughter of one of the richest men in the world, household name, everybody knows who she is. It's 2008, we're doing this house, and she calls me up, Lehman Tanks, she calls me up, and she says, we really need to calm down. It's unseemly that we're spending what we're spending given what's going on in the world. And I said to her, if you slow down, we're all screwed. And in addition, I've got 100 craftspeople working on your house every day for the past 3 months, and they will be there for the next 6 months. And if you slow down, those 100 people do not have a job for the next 6 months. And she went, okay. So it is 100% supporting people. You know, that's another thing. My dad, the people who worked for my dad in the factories, he took really good care of them because they made his life. They made my life. They paid for my life. So.
All right, I think we have 2 more questions. Sorry, is that okay with everybody? All right, we've got 1.
It's been wonderful looking at all these images and listening from you. Question, what has surprised you the most as you've grown your businesses?
Wow. Hit it.
Well, let me think here. I think the more you grow your business, the more you have to rely on others and empower your staff and your designers that are doing the projects that you work so hard to get. It's happened to me. I've a staff of 6 designers, and they cultivate as a team, even when I'm not there. It's amazing to see when you give them more authority to make their own decisions. It really does make them have more ownership in what they're doing and learn and want to do and please, me as a business owner. So I think that's the next generation, and you really do have to teach them and let them learn and grow and they'll make mistakes, but you just, you teach them. And I think that's one of the greatest things that I've learned.
I thought of something, it wasn't surprising, but something I've learned, which is when I was younger and I would take jobs, I would have massive amounts of anxiety that, was I going to be able to do this perfectly? Was it going to be amazing? And here's the greatest thing about getting older is I know how to do this, and I know who to call, and I don't have the fear anymore. I don't have the anxiety anymore. I don't have the angst, because we're going to figure it out, and we're going to figure it out together. Victoria Hagan recently on a panel in Palm Beach said, people always ask her, like, so what are we doing with the house? Like, within 5 minutes of her walking in, and she's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how do I know? So it's sort of that level of, like, I don't know. We'll figure it out, but I don't know. And that took a really long time to be able to say that to somebody.
On another note, I had a reunion party for all the people who've worked for me, girls over not just girls, but girls and guys, a Christmas party. It was really funny. There were like 20 people over the years that, over a span of like 20 years that worked for me. And about 10 of them are all designers now, and really good designers. Like, they left because, they went, either had children or this or that. But it was funny, out of all those girls, we had like 24 children. They had 24 children too. So like the extension of the family keeps getting bigger and bigger. But I mean, to me, that's like the best legacy you can have, is like giving the gift that you learn onto my daughter, to the next generation. And you have to give the knowledge away. That's or else it gets stale. You have to. So anyway, that's.
Okay, we've got a last question back here. Right?
Hi, thanks so much for just being so generous with your time and all of your information to share with us. When you talk about collaborations, have you guys ever done a collaboration with another designer, either when you were younger or as you developed more as a designer? And was that a positive thing? And if it was a big project, was it something that we all talk about collaborations and everything is collabs now. What do you think of that idea, and have you ever done it?
We've done it. A good friend of mine actually didn't have enough staff to do what he needed to do, so he came to me and he said, hey, can I work with some of your designers on a project that he was working on in Palm Beach? And so he came to our office. It was great. Everybody loves him. He's a great personality. And so, he used us to help him get through the project. And so I think that's where I was willing to work with him and, kind of let him do his thing and come in and, work with the girls in the office. So definitely something that I was open to, just because I knew that it helped him out. So.
And we also collaborate on a daily basis with architects all the time. And
That's what I was
so,
gonna say.
there's a constant collaboration. And especially with architects, because, we're the designer's thinking one way and the architect's thinking another way. So you have to figure out a way to win them over so that you're all sort of seeing the same thing. So we will send them the storyboards, so then they'll get things, they'll go, oh, okay, now I get it. When you're doing schedules for whatever, but.
Yeah, I've done it with architects. There's one architect in particular that I work with again and again and again, because I know every time we work together, he's going to make my work better, I'm going to make his work better.
Exactly.
And he's not interested in being an ego, and I'm not interested in being an ego. I know, shocking. And when we're working together, it's really about what the best end product's going to be. So if you're working with people who, it's not about their ego, it is about their project, it's super satisfying. And the client gets something so much better. So.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all so much. And we'll hopefully see you all at the beach tonight. Our closing party's at the Whaling Museum. You can find all of the information online if you don't have tickets, which would just be a shame. You should really come. Really just to see Bill in a bathing suit.